I still am very pro Disney World, obviously. And yet I felt almost like a traitor by how much I
Me
love
too.
all of these things
Me
at
too.
Disneyland.
Hey y'all, it's LJ here, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. We are so glad you're here for another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Now, here's your host, Allie.
Hey there, everyone. What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. We are so glad you're here. I am your host, Allie, and I am here today with Karla and Stacy. It's going to be a spicy episode here with you guys. What's up?
Whoop, whoop.
Spicy. Okay.
Well, the two of you, sometimes you like to go at it. It's very fun. I am really excited today because we are doing a different topic that a lot of our Smarties have been asking for. And of course, we have a lot of knowledge about, but it's just not the primary place we put our Disney planning focus all the time. We are going across the country to the West Coast and talking Disneyland. People have been requesting it. People want to go there. I want to go there. I love going there. And I'm so excited to just kind of talk all things Disneyland. We're going to do sort of a broad scope. This is what Disneyland is all about. This is what you can expect. This is how you're going to be a pro. And we're going to do it all on today's episode. But I was thinking, we all go to Disney World all the time because this is the part of the country we live in. And it's kind of our home park, as we would say, right? How long is the flight for your family to get to Disneyland? If you wanted to go to California, go to Anaheim and Disneyland, how long does that take your family to get there?
Oh, all day.
Stop
All
it. You're so
day.
dramatic.
It did take us all day. And a little bit of that is because I don't live in an international airport area. So I always have to have another stop out of our home airport, or I have to drive to Atlanta or Birmingham, somewhere that's going to have a more direct flight. But even from Alabama, it's not going to be a direct flight. There's definitely going to be a stop somewhere along the way. So it just ends up it's an all day trip. But I say that. I think we left before sunset out of
Before
Montgomery.
sunrise or sunset?
Oh, Lord have mercy. Here I am. Karla already got me in a tizzy. I'm just looking at her and going, oh no, she's going to come at me. She's going to come at me. And it's making me say the wrong words right off the bat. Hey, look, let's go ahead and clear the air too, Karla.
Yeah,
You and
tell
I.
everybody how much you love me and how much I love you.
Look in my face in this Zoom call we're on. I love you so much. Right? We love each
I
other.
love you too. Please stop telling your clients that I abuse you.
I do not. That's what I'm trying to get on here to say. Karla and I have a lovely relationship. We jab each other all the time. It is all in fun. I have actually had people reach out to me in concern because of how
for
much
your
Karla picks at
well-being.
me.
It's
Yes.
like elementary school when you have your first crush. You're like my first crush, and you're mean to them, but it's because you just love them so much and you want their
Oh,
attention.
you're pulling my
And
pigtails.
I always just try to please Stacy, and I always know when Stacy's going to come for me because it always has to do with either grammar or spelling. And I literally take way longer to do post or to post anything with my writing on it because I'm always worried that Stacy's going to come for me.
Stacy's not coming.
Too funny.
Stacy's not coming for anybody.
She is. She is.
Well, I have a persona of being really nice, and I love that. I want that persona. But with Karla, she does kind of put me with some boxing gloves sometimes, I tell you.
Yeah, it's all fun though, and I'm on the back end of it and I get to see it and I love it. It's what makes you guys so great. Our flight isn't all day. Like Stacey, you said all day, probably because you have to connect and stuff. We weren't really able to go direct. And that's, I guess, what I was getting at is I think a lot of people where their home park is Disney World and they fly from this side of the country, they get really intimidated by just traveling to get there. I honestly think if we had a flight that left at maybe 6:30 in the morning here on the East Coast, Midwest, we'd fly and we'd probably in all reality with the time change get to Los Angeles by like 8 a.m., and have a whole day in
Oh,
front of
wow.
us because because it's, maybe a 4-hour flight and then a 3-hour time change. And if you do that math, I think my
Yeah.
math is mathing right. And so it's really not all day, and you get a full day even once you arrive, which is really awesome. And I think the travel is what's intimidating. And I think a lot of people with kids too, we became quick pros at flying with our kids when they were little because they were on planes from a very young age. And I get this question all the time. What is your best piece of advice for a young family with young kids that they may want to make this venture, may want to head out to Disneyland, but they're really scared to have their kids on flights?
Ooh, I've got a good one. So I'm a family of four. Rows of seats only have three. And then, so that fourth person's going to have to split off somewhere. So I'm always that fourth person, and I just pretend like I don't know the other three.
That's Xandra's mentality. That's her tactic.
That's all I got.
Oh my goodness.
Somehow I can't get away with everybody's just poking and prodding me. But I honestly, though, in all seriousness, if you have a baby, my literal best flying advice is to have a way to feed your baby, however you do it, on takeoff and landing, because that's when the ears are sensitive and popping, and if they can just constantly be swallowing, it helps with that so much. Like a plan for that, and if you have a toddler, maybe it's like a sucker or something that's going to constantly keep them swallowing during takeoff and landing. That's like my pro tip.
Yes.
I learned it when my babies were little, and it got us through.
And something else that I used to do, because I used to fly a lot when my kids were young, was, and I don't know if these are still a thing because I had a baby 12 years ago, 13 years ago, but the boppies, because if you're holding your baby the whole time, inevitably that baby gets heavy. So just having that extra support where you can rest your arms and kind of lay your baby on that was my big tip back then.
That's smart.
I can't imagine. How did you get the boppy? Like, you just carry the boppy through the airport, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, it's like an oversized neck pillow. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it really is.
Karla was walking through the airport with it around her shoulders.
I'm sure the people next to you loved you. You had a big old boppy.
I was always the one that I put everything in the stroller and rolled the stroller up to the plane and then checked it as we were getting on. So I would just load all my stuff there and then carry it onto the plane. So, I mean, that wasn't a big deal carrying a boppy around.
Interesting. What about you, Stacy? Did you ever fly with your kids? Because I know you like to drive everywhere.
Did they have airplanes back then?
Well, we asked the Wright brothers to put in a special receipt for us. We've flown with I've flown with a couple of kids a couple of times. Let's see, we flew to Chicago one time with one, and I flew to, in fact, for a cruise, a Royal Caribbean cruise many years ago. That baby's in college. So I've done it a couple of times, but only one at a time. And we made it through. Since I did just get distracted with Karla earlier, I will come back and say that even with me saying how long the trip is to Disneyland. And honestly, the time change is a difficult thing as well, because it's going to have you, because I really think we were getting there mid-afternoon, but that was so much later at home, right? So it was such a long day already. And then the park stayed open so late and we were so tired by that night. It is a long day. So I don't want to even try masking that. It's a reality to be prepared for, but it was doable. And it's so funny that this episode has even come up because my husband, who is not the just let's go somewhere person, I have to talk him into almost all of our travels. He has been asking to go back to Disneyland. And I don't know if it's the advertising that's coming around lately with the anniversary out there that he's seeing it more, but he's like, that was a really fun trip. We need to go. So even with the length of travel, it's such a fun trip that it's totally worth it. You just include it as part of your day and part of the process and make it work. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. And how far have we come from that first episode that we did, I think, on Disneyland, where I think Allie and I fought for Disney World being better than Disneyland? Who did we fight against? Do you remember? Was it Becky and maybe Christine or?
I don't know, but we did. And we've come a long way.
Yeah. And here I was, poo-pooing Disneyland the whole time. And the reality of that is I hadn't been there. But now that I've been there, so Stacy and I both went last year and I totally fell in love. I'm like Donnie, I can't stop thinking about the next time that I'm going to get to Disneyland.
Yep.
Yeah.
We both went as first timers last year.
I went for the first time. It's been a while now, probably 10 years ago. We went 3 years in a row when my oldest daughter was little. We have some friends in California. We just made it this annual trip and we visited them and went to Disneyland. Fell in love, obviously, loved it. It was the first, I think I've said this on the show before, it was the first castle that my oldest daughter ever saw. You know, her first Disney experience was Disneyland. Although she's to the age now where she really doesn't remember it, and my little ones have never been. So we're actually prioritizing a trip back this summer is when we're hoping to make it happen. And I think summer in California is much better than summer in Florida. And so I'm looking forward to just using our summer break in a different way. Okay, I can't wait to dive in to talk all about Disneyland, what makes it so special, what you need to know to strategize and make it the very best vacation it can be, and what it is that we love about it. We take this quick break. This episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast is brought to you by BabyQuip, the #1 baby gear rental service across the US, Canada, and beyond. There is nothing more difficult for my family with 3 young kiddos than when we are traveling. We're just out of rhythm without our things. We just feel out of step and our kids feel off. It can make our vacation feel so much more stressful than it needs to. With a wide range of baby and toddler equipment available, including cribs, strollers, car seats, toys, and more, BabyQuip helps give us some of that normalcy that our kids crave and we need as parents when we are away from home. When they're happy, we're happy. And by using local quality providers that are often moms, dads, and grandparents just like us and you smarties that are listening today, BabyQuip makes sure that you are working with somebody who understands the needs of your family firsthand. If you need it, they have it. All products follow strict cleanliness and safety protocols and are also insured to give you that extra peace of mind that you need to really enjoy your vacation. With convenient delivery to your location, whether it's a home, a hotel, a vacation rental, wherever you're calling, home away from home, they've got you covered. BabyQuip is available in over 1,500 cities, making it accessible. So whether you're heading to Disney World, Disneyland, or another travel destination, BabyQuip will be there for you. With their easy-to-use online platform, you don't have to stress about getting your products. Head to babyquip.com. Use code SMPOD, that's SMPOD, to get $30 off of any order of $150 or more. That's babyquip.com. Pack light, travel happy. Disneyland is celebrating 70 years this year. And as we learned a couple of years ago with Disney's 50th anniversary, Disney loves to celebrate longer than just the anniversary. So they're actually doing what they call Celebrate Happy, and it's starting this May. And it's going all the way through summer of 2026. So you have this year-long opportunity to really get there, experience the nostalgia and the happiness and magic that is Disneyland, but also celebrate it for its birthday. You know, you could celebrate 70 for over a year, which is going to be so awesome. And there's a lot of things coming with the anniversary. We're not going to just talk about the anniversary, obviously, but it is a little bit more of a reason why, with all the special things that are going to be happening, it's a really good time to consider planning a trip out west. And like I said, I wanted to talk about the flight at the top of the show because I think that's one of the most deterring factors is people just fear getting there. But it's really not that
I
bad.
love that they're calling it Celebrate Happy because it is the happiest place on earth. And this is something that I didn't know when I first started going to Disney. So, Disney World is the most magical place on earth. Disneyland is the happiest place on earth.
Yes, misconception all the time. People say it wrong all the time. And this is the happiest place on earth.
So, Celebrate Happy is so fitting for this occasion.
Yes,
I agree. I love
absolutely.
it so much. And I love that they do extend their celebrations for so long
Yeah.
so that as you're learning, what things are going to be available as part of the celebration, or maybe you just it didn't dawn on you that, wow, they're already 70 years old here,
Right.
that you have time to make the plans.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the basics here with Disneyland. Disneyland is called the Disneyland Resort. Okay. So that is the name of Disneyland itself. And that's not specifically talking about just the resorts that are there. That is what the entire vacation experience is called. And it's made up of 2 theme parks. We have Disneyland Park, which is the iconic park that everybody knows, and Baby Castle and all the lands. And then just across the terrace, we have Disney's California Adventure. More of an adventurous thrill type
And
experience
when
of a
you
park.
say across the terrace, I can't appreciate this enough. It's like a minute and a half walk between the two parks.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about that when we're talking about when we're talking about strategy. If this is your first Disney experience of any kind, this is not going to be strange. But if you've had other Disney experiences, maybe in Florida, and you come to Disneyland, it's going to blow your mind because it is so different, not the same at all. In addition to the two theme parks, you also have the Downtown Disney District, or yeah, I guess you could still call it a district, the Downtown Disney area, and three on-site resorts. You have Disney's Grand Californian, Pixar Place Hotel, and the Disneyland Hotel Resort. So all of that is kind of located in a walkable central type area, three resorts, downtown Disney, two parks. It's all right there and immersive for you, which is really, really great. Makes strategizing super easy. And another really important thing to note about Disneyland, just in this overall broad understanding of it, is that Disneyland actually does require park pass reservations. So 120 days before you go to Disneyland, you actually still have to reserve the park you're going to be in. I haven't noticed. Have you all noticed that, and especially because you went semi recently, have you noticed that those park reservations are really filling up at 120 days, or that it's more leisure and it's not super cutthroat and there's usually
Yeah, I mean,
availability?
I went during kind of a downtime. I went in September, but it did just happen to be a marathon weekend there, a Run Disney event. So it was busier than I think it would have normally been. And of course, that's the season when Oogie Boogie is getting started off. But I was able to find reservations, but also I did it well in advance of going, so I didn't wait to the last minute. So I'm not sure if there's a difference between, getting them in advance or waiting a couple days before, but I personally did not have any issues.
Yeah, I didn't have any trouble either. It was a February visit. I was not at a super crowded time of year as either, but I do know that it can be a thing in very rare circumstances to have trouble getting that reservation. But yeah, for my personal experience, it was no problem at all.
I've always been of the mindset, book your park reservations 120 days before your trip, period. Do not wait, because even if it's not typically an issue, there are outlier issues where you didn't expect, Disneyland not to have reservations and then now you're stuck. So I am always of the mindset you can change them. This is something that can be modified. So you go in at 120 days, you go ahead and pick the park you want to start in. Although with Disneyland, you're going to have a park hopper. That is what we're going to recommend. That is what's going to be best and easiest and the most fun. So you're always going to be able to have the access to both parks if you do it that way. But going ahead and reserving the park you want to start in, get it done immediately. I want to make sure that we say that early in the episode, because if you wait, you could miss out, and there's no reason to be missing out when you have a Disneyland
Yeah,
vacation
just
booked.
take the stress out of it.
Yep. Even if it's only a problem one day out of the year, if that's your one day that you're there, you're in trouble.
Mhm. Absolutely. Karla, when you went just recently, you used Disney's multi-pass system,
I
right?
did. And, one huge difference about Walt Disney World and Disneyland is that you can add that to your package. Like if you're paying for your trip over time, you can go ahead and tack that on, which I loved that I could do that, but also that the Lightning Lane multi pass and single pass both are your photo passes. So it's kind of like a twofer. It's a little two for one. But yeah, I loved how it worked over there. I don't know if we want to jump into that yet, but I thought the Lightning Lane multi pass was way more user friendly there.
Yeah, I would love to do a conversation about Lightning Lane multipass. We've learned on this show that multipass is one of the most confusing topics that people planning any sort of Disney vacation have. It produces the most questions, it causes and induces the most anxiety about the trip. And so I think addressing Disneyland's version is super important. And I want to make sure any listeners that are considering going to Disneyland have this insight, because I mean, we could do a whole episode on this alone. I love that you already mentioned you can add this to your package. What a perk that is, to know that you're not having to budget a number you can't even come up with because you have no idea what it's going to cost the day you're there. It's just already paid for and you've locked in your multi-pass for your vacation. What a relief it is to have it. What a relief it is to already have it paid for. What a relief it is to not have to budget something you can't predict. Adding it is a no-brainer. So walk us through, Karla, your experience, what you added it to your
Well,
package,
before we
right?
get to that, I think it's important, so where you can add your Lightning Lane multi-pass into your package, I think it's important for people to know that are going to Disneyland that there is no dining plan at Disneyland where there is at Walt Disney World. So I just think that knowing those differences. So at Disneyland, you can account for food ahead of time, but you can account for the Lightning Lane multi-pass and single pass. But as
Absolutely.
far as the Lightning Lane multi-pass, so I did the multi-pass option. I didn't do any single pass options. But what I really loved about it and why I really think it works better there is because you don't get your first selection until you have scanned into whatever park you're going to. And I think because of that, let me back it up. If you're staying on site at Disneyland at one of the 3 hotels, you get in 30 minutes early before everybody else, which is going to be a huge advantage because if you're getting in 30 minutes early, you're scanning into the park. That means you're going to have first dibs on those Lightning Lane selections. But then also when after you scan into that first ride, you go in now and you get your other one, you're still way ahead of other people that are coming into the park that aren't staying on site, right? The stress where we have on the Walt Disney World side of things is not there with Disneyland. And that's just because there's just so much more multi-pass availability. And I think it is strictly because you can't get it until you're in the park. So you're not walking into the park and there's certain Lightning Lane selections that aren't available because people book them ahead of time. That's not an option there. So when you walk into the park, if you're rope dropping, you get first dibs on everything. Everything's open pretty much. And then similarly to Walt Disney World, once you scan into the ride, you get another one and you just do that all day. And what was crazy from my experience, and I even impressed my husband that we were literally, the minute I scan into a ride, I would get another one and it'd be like 10 minutes away or 10 minutes from the time that we scanned in.
When you scanned into the park, were you allowed to select one attraction? Or was it like Disney World and you scanned in and you got to
When we
grab
scanned
three?
into the park, we were only allowed to get one selection. So it's one selection at a time. But I'm telling you what, we rope dropped and then we would get our first selection and then scanned in real quick. And then again, like 10 minutes later, we were on the next ride, scanning in, and then it was all day, which I
Yeah.
think that's again another reason why it works so well over there.
Yeah, and this is my experience as well, and I really think some of it is I don't know if it's just because it's such a locals park that there are so many of the guests are local there and they just don't feel the need to do the lightning lane. I don't know what it is, but I felt like it was being underused. There were not as many people using it there. So I think that had something to do with it too. The competition to get the next ride was just not there. I was constantly able to get the next thing. And like you said, and it wasn't like, "Oh, no, the only thing open is way on the other side of the park." No, everything was just kind of boom, 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 very centrally located to where we were, and it was awesome. Totally awesome.
So you basically go in, and this is important to note for all on-site and off-site guests because there's no priority being an on-site guest when it comes to multipass because the scan in and book a lightning lane is the same for everyone visiting Disneyland. It doesn't matter where you're staying, if you're a day guest, on-site, off-site, whatever it is. Once you have scanned in with a valid park ticket and park pass reservation, if you have purchased multipass, you get to make that selection. No tier system. Just make the selection for your first lightning lane. And then again, you can start either as soon as you use one, which is probably going to be the easiest way because they are so easily used at Disneyland. You scan in, get a new one. But if for some reason it is backed up on times, it is that every 2 hour rule. So you would book one, and then 2 hours later, if you haven't used it yet, you can book another one.
Now, like Karla said, there is the benefit of staying on property and getting in 30 minutes early, which does give you a 30-minute head start. So other than that, there's no perks, but yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and we're going to talk about what it's like to stay on site at Disneyland and why I think it may or may not be worth it. But yes, in terms of when you're in the park, of course, you get to start selecting. So I think it's one of the things I love is how accessible and easy Disneyland feels. And when you're using multipass, like sometimes the wait times maybe aren't as bad, but I am just pro don't stand in line. People know that's like you're not standing in the lines. You get to enjoy so much more when you're not standing in the lines. And because you can prepay and strategize it so easily, I think it's really a no-brainer at Disneyland in general. How many park days do you both think are necessary at Disneyland? Like if you're trying to plan a trip, it's your first time, what is your go-to number of park days you think you should spend at Disneyland
My
Resort?
first instinct says 3, and I think 3 is probably the max I would do, I guess. I don't think you need more than 3. I think you could very easily, especially if you have a park hopper, is get to see everything that you want to see in 3 days. And what I think is interesting about Disneyland, and if you decide to take a trip there, so many people don't go to Disneyland just to see Disneyland like they do Walt Disney World. Like Walt Disney World, you can come to Walt Disney World, stay in the Disney bubble for a week, and still probably not see everything you want to see. Disneyland's different. It's like with Disneyland, I feel like you're going over there and you're tacking on more of California. You know, you're driving down to San Diego, you're going up to see Universal Studios. There's more to your trip, but if you can get a solid 3 days at Disneyland, I think you're pretty golden.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's my inclination is always to say 3-day park hopper with Lightning Lane multipass. That's my go-to. That's what I'm going to do with my family. That's what I advise most families to do. Could always do more. I'm always a fan of doing more, but when you limit yourself to only 2, I do feel like you are going to be rushed. 3 allows you to enjoy downtown Disney, enjoy your resort, leisurely experience the parks. Maybe you love something and you want to ride it every day. Mission Breakout, Guardians Mission Breakout.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, maybe you just want to ride something once. Either way you want to look at it, that's what you can do. And then it's important to note also fireworks and nighttime shows, they do not happen every single night. Disneyland has a Phantasmic. It is not every night. Disneyland has fireworks. It's not every night. California Adventure has my favorite nighttime show, World of Color. It's not every night. And what's harder is it's not a pre-scheduled this is the night that you can expect this. This is the night that you can expect this. Instead, about 60 days in advance, you start to get the entertainment schedule for the days in which you'll be at Disneyland. And that's kind of when you learn when the nighttime shows will be and in which parks they will be. That's a huge deal, in my opinion, because if you don't strategize and have enough park days, you really might miss out on some of those nighttime opportunities, which, as listeners and Smarties know, are really important and significant to me and my Disney experience.
Another reason why the park hopper is so needed, because I feel like a lot of listeners are already stressing and they're thinking like, well, if I made my reservation, my park reservation at 120 days out, but then I'm not going to know until like 60 days out when my shows are. It's like, if you have the park hopper, then that's a 2-minute walk to go see the show in the other park.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You can go so easily between. And I'm glad you said that because I was laughing in my head thinking people are probably stressing because we said to make your park reservations. But remember, we also said they're modifiable, easily
I
modifiable.
mean, this is like we're talking about walking from Thunder Mountain to like Space Mountain. Like that's
Yes.
how close, you know what I mean? I think it's probably even closer.
Yeah.
Gate to gate, it probably is. I'm sure.
I 100% would think it, and you're referencing Disney World for Smarties that may be confused. Like inside Magic Kingdom at Disney World, the walk from Big Thunder Mountain to Space Mountain, probably farther than the front gate of Disneyland to Disney's California Adventure. They feel like you can be in the back of California Adventure in Radiator Springs, Cars area, and you can make it to Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland in probably like a 10-minute walk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like 15
Maybe
minute
15
max.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah, 15 minute max. And so you're really experiencing the immersion of both parks at once if you want. And that is really wonderful. There's also a virtual queue. There's only one virtual queue. And since we kind of already talked about multipass lightning, I want to just mention this really fast. Well, over the holidays, there was a virtual queue for the Haunted Mansion because they have the holiday overlay, which is really cool. That's not all the time. That's not happening year round, but there's also a virtual queue for World of Color. One is currently, as we're recording this, at 12 p.m., and you have to be in the park to secure that. If you have to be in California Adventure if you don't have a park hopper ticket, but if you do have that hopper that we've been stressing, you can actually be within either park to get that virtual queue. Virtual queue is going to get you a better viewing spot for World of Color, which, like I said, it might. I haven't seen it in a little while. I haven't seen it since the update, so I can't for sure say this, but it's definitely a top 2 Disney nighttime show across any park, in my opinion.
Totally
Thank you,
stunning.
Disneyland, for not making us grab a virtual queue at 7 a.m.
Yeah, right? Seriously, it's
Yeah.
amazing. But yeah, so Lightning Lane, multi-pass, virtual queue, that's kind of what that looks like. It's easier. Disneyland in general is the laid back Disney experience. If the idea of Disney stresses you out because you think there's so much pre-planning, there's so much you have to organize ahead of it, Disneyland is just not that approach, right? So we already kind of expressed that with the lightning lanes and multipass and how different it is. Dining at Disneyland is also far less competitive and far less stressful. If you want a sit down dining reservation at Disneyland, 60 days before the day you want to eat at a restaurant, that's when you can make that reservation. It makes it a little hard because if you're on a 5-day trip, that's going to be 5 straight days of trying to schedule dining and extras and things like that. But it is laid back because it does feel a little bit less competitive. It does feel a little bit more like everybody has equal, fair, quick opportunity. And for us East Coasters, it doesn't open until like later in the morning because it's 6 a.m. Disneyland time, which is 9 a.m. our time, which is really nice if you're Midwest or East Coast. And even still, sometimes the Disneyland restaurants don't even open on their right schedule, right? Because it just is such a more laid back approach
I
to
think
things.
that laid back mentality is that you don't necessarily, or I didn't feel this stress of going into Disneyland with everything just planned out to a T, like you do with Walt Disney World. Like Walt Disney World, you have to have some dining reservations on some days, otherwise you're not eating. We've said that so many times. Disneyland, when I was there, so many reservations opened up for walk ups. I just don't think that people are really planning their trips out like they would at Disney World over there. I just think it, like you said, it's so much more laid back and easygoing. And if you want to eat at whatever restaurant, you could likely just grab something 10 minutes before and make it over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about the food at Disneyland. You love the food there? You think it's mediocre there? What are your takes on the food at Disneyland? Did you have anything that was like so delicious you
I
loved
loved
it?
everything at Disneyland, and I think it's because everything was new to me. But I think arguably churros at Disneyland are far superior. Corn dogs at Disneyland are far superior. I mean, these are the two things I feel like when you go to Disneyland, you have to have at least one of each, if not one of each every day.
I agree. The snacking, I was going to say, I don't know that the sit down dining experiences are necessarily better at Disneyland. And I really don't want to compare, I really don't want to be comparing the Disney parks. I really just want to focus on Disneyland. But I do think they do snacks so
Better.
well
Yeah.
in California. They really do. And quick service too. There's the place you can get the tacos and nachos in California Adventure. That's just like so, so good. I
We did
love
not
it.
do many sit down restaurants in the parks. However, we did do actually our only sit down restaurant that we did was at DCA on Pixar Pier, which was the Lamplight Lounge. And we sat in the bar. We didn't sit at the bar, but we sat in the tables that are right behind the bar. And you have the most amazing view of the Circle of Death over there. What's it called?
The
Oh yeah.
that's terrifying.
Yeah, the Mickey wheel.
But
The wheel of
but
death. It
how
truly is.
amazing to be sitting at a restaurant with this as the backdrop, and it was very magical.
Yeah, I didn't have very many sit downs either, and it just was such a quick trip. That feel like that a little bit of the difference too. Not it's more casual and I didn't feel like I had a lot of time to just do a sit down because I wanted to experience so much of the park otherwise that we only did the one.
I think some of the staples, some of the standout staples that people want when they're thinking about Disneyland, tell me if you think I've missed any. Blue Bayou is going to be at Disneyland. That's such a great place to eat because it is actually in Pirates of the Caribbean. You see the attraction go by while you're eating in there, which is just a really unique experience. People really seek that one out. I would say it's kind of a difficult reservation to grab. Lamplight Lounge that you mentioned, Karla, over at DCA, because you have such a gorgeous view. It's a lounge, really, really cool. I would say that's a pretty sought after one. Storytellers Cafe being a character meal, really, really good. Goofy's Kitchen, such a fun character buffet meal for kids, especially. My first character meal interaction with my oldest daughter was at Goofy's Kitchen. And back then, I remember we scored that reservation morning of when we were just driving into Disneyland. This was so long ago. And I just like grabbed it on the highway while we were driving there, which was great. The Plaza breakfast with Minnie and friends. We saw so many cool characters at that breakfast. Like Captain Hook was there. The monkey from the best animal Disney movie of all time, Rafiki, was there. Max was there. Like, it was really cool, unique characters. And the one more is Napa Rose being the other one. And that's also at Disney's Grand Californian. So I think those are the greatest, like if you're really looking for standout dining. And then, like I said, the quick service, that Cocina Cucamonga, I think is what it's called. I don't want to butcher the name, but I mean, the street tacos are so good. That's in California
Yeah, you know
Adventure.
what I really liked is they have phantasmic dining packages there at Disneyland, and there are quick service options. So you don't have to feel like you're spending a ton of money at a table service restaurant, that you can just account for quick service dining and then get seating for the show, which we don't
That's
have
very
that at
cool.
Walt Disney World.
Yeah, right, exactly. When you're thinking about dining, it's such a priority for so many regular Disney goers, and I think those are probably the most I think I nailed it there on the most popular places to eat if you really want
I
to sit
do think
down.
that place with the tacos that you keep talking about is in Disneyland, is it not? Isn't it right over
No,
there by Thunder Mountain?
no, Cocina Cucamonga is in Disney's California Adventure over at the
Okay,
pier.
there's another place that I'm thinking about.
It's like over near like San
Okay.
Francisco, that area.
We ate at the Great Maple Modern American Eatery at Pixar
That's
Resort.
new.
That was so good. That was recommended to us and it was amazing. Definitely the resorts have places to check out as well. It was so cute. They had very modern looking photography as their decor, and it's of the characters. It's like there's this very dramatic black and white photo of Woody and Bo Peep
Love that.
and so cute. Some of the Pixar characters, it's adorable. Anyway, and the food was delicious. We really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think that's smart to add to the list too. If you're planning out your dining, that's going to be resort dining. Let's talk about the resorts because we briefly mentioned that there are three of them. Three on site resorts. Like I said, everything at Disneyland is walkable and on site, right? But the three themed Disney bubble, Disney owned properties are the Grand Californian, Disneyland Hotel, and Pixar Place. Each one is super unique. So the Grand Californian is grand, right? It is very woodsy, very like immersed in nature, huge. When you walk into the lobby,
Craftsman.
craftsman. Yeah, when you walk into the lobby, it's, stories, levels upon levels of just wood and balconies, really stunning. And it is the closest park, right? You're just like walking out, you're in downtown Disney when you walk out. It has its own entrance with security gate straight into California Adventure Park, which is really, really convenient. So awesome. Straight into the side there. I use that. We stayed at Disney's Grand Californian when we went with our oldest, and that entrance, it let us out right there on the side. So it wasn't even the same main entrance, which was really convenient and awesome. Such a great perk. And then a little bit farther down of a walk is going to be Disneyland Hotel, which is actually my favorite of the three. Karla, which one was your favorite? Did you see them all when you were
I
there?
did not see Pixar, but I really loved the Grand Californian. We spent
Yeah.
quite a bit of time in there, and just love the warmth and the vibe that's in there.
Stacy, did
Yeah, we
you?
stayed at Disneyland Hotel. It was awesome. And I had a really great view of the new Steamboat Willie splash pad. So adorable. Right, Mickey was looking right in our windows. I felt the vibe of old school Disneyland, and it was a little bit emotional. This is the place, this is the start of it all here at Disneyland Hotel, and I feel very blessed to have the opportunity to have been there. It was great.
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's just really classic and nostalgic and iconic. It has the monorail, and as you mentioned, the Steamboat Willie splash pad, which is just really awesome. And you can use, if you're staying at the Disneyland Hotel, you can use that downtown Disney District monorail station, and it actually takes you into Disneyland Park, which is really awesome. It goes straight into the
Which
park.
means which
Um,
means that in order to ride it, you do have to have a ticket, a park ticket.
right, right.
Yes.
And that's such a cool thing to experience. I love that. I think that's part of why I love Disneyland Hotel so much. And then Pixar Place, you actually have a walkway across the street from the hotel to have an entrance into Disney's California Adventure Park as well. So those are really awesome perks of staying in one of these resorts, but also I am just such a believer in the Disney bubble. The new Pixar Place hotel is that immersion that we're looking for with Disney. And who doesn't love Pixar, right? Like it's just Pixar animation and characters and colors, and the rooms are so well done. So that's kind of the theming that you're looking at all three. I will say, and we'll just touch on it briefly. Disney does have their Good Neighbor packages. In a Good Neighbor package, you still get that same low deposit. You can still add your tickets and your multi-pass. So it's a great option. And a lot of the hotels that are Good Neighbor are obviously less expensive, and so many of them are walkable. And when I say walkable, I mean like 5 minutes to the main gates from these normal hotels that are not Disney themed. I am still a big fan of the Disney themed hotels just because it makes it more of a full vacation rather than just visiting the parks. You're really immersed in your Disney-ness of everything. And you do get early entry into one of the two parks, which we've already touched on the importance of why that matters when you're out there. And of course, you can avoid any sort of early morning traffic, parking, things like that if you are having to drive. So you can stay off site, you can package a Good Neighbor hotel, and you can do that with walkability. I'm just still a bigger fan of utilizing what Disney has to offer.
And I have personally experienced the Good Neighbor Hotel, and mine was not in walking distance. So I actually had to take a bus in, and it's not a Disney bus. It is a, a city bus, but it's nothing to be scared of if you are looking to stay within a certain budget and you do want to save a little money. I think it's a great option if that's what you have to do, and I would even do it again. I mean, obviously I would love to stay on site, but with that comes a price point that I wasn't comfortable paying. So Good Neighbors are a good option as well.
They really are, so much more so than I expected. And even when I looked visually at a map before I went, the reality of the proximity was still surprising to me of how many Good Neighbor options were just so close. If you have the mindset of what you're used to at Disney World with a Good Neighbor versus this, they're really different, and I think Good Neighbors are a very fine option at Disneyland.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it super affordable. You really just want to weigh the pros and cons with your Smart Mom's travel agent and price it out, see what makes the most sense. But that's kind of how that works. And the on-site resorts, the three that we've been discussing, Pixar Place, Disneyland Hotel, and the Grand Californian, they kind of are a perimeter around the downtown Disney district, which is more of like a long alleyway. It's kind of like Diagon Alley. Like it's a long strip of shops and restaurants. Is that a good way to kind of explain
Hmm.
it? Yeah, and it's fun. It's really lively at night. Live music, lots of people, lots of entertainment. Fun place to be. When you're staying like at the Grand Californian, you can actually have a room that is overlooking downtown Disney or the theme parks. We actually had one that overlooked the pool in the theme park, which was so cool. So we were there over Halloween, so we could see like orange lights and smoke and things in the park, which was awesome. And also the pool, which is pretty. But on the other side of the resort, you can actually overlook downtown Disney, which is super fun. Lots of shopping there. We just did our Disney Springs draft. Everybody loved that, by the way. Smarties, if you reached out on social media and talked to us about our Disney Springs draft, we love you so much. We love that people love that episode because we love drafting. We think it's such a great way to like dive into different topics. And it had been a while since we did it. So I'm glad that that episode was so well received. We talked a lot about the different shopping on that episode at Disney Springs and Disney World. Downtown Disney here at Disneyland has a lot of that same opportunity for shopping. So they have a World of Disney, which is so great. Huge Disney store, every kiddo's dream. Obviously, are going in World of Disney. They have a Lego store, a Star Wars trading post, a Disney home store, which I love. Like that's right up my alley if I could go find something to bring for my house. And then some other just generic shopping. When you all were there with your husbands, did you do a lot of downtown Disney shopping?
Not a lot, but that's just me. But I did hit up those Disney Home and the Disney store there. It was
I
so
think when
fun.
you were just describing Disney, downtown Disney at night, hearing you say that and how lively it is, I guess that's one of the things I miss by staying off site that I wish that I would have experienced a little more, because it's such a lively area even during the day. I could only imagine how it was at night. Now, granted, we were going back to the room and sleeping because we were so exhausted, but how fun is that area? I mean, that area is just so great. And it's so much smaller in scale compared to Disney Springs, where it just feels a lot more doable. And it's kind of like Disneyland as a whole with the two parks. It's just more compressed and in close proximity. It's just so much easier. I did love it.
Yeah, and that's not to say if you're offsite you can't do the Disney downtown Disney experience, but it is easier if you're just kind of immersed in it with your resort. Some noteworthy things to think about. We talked about the most important restaurants to kind of keep in mind in the parks and resorts, but downtown Disney eating is part of what's great about it. Good restaurants there that people love, the Jazz Kitchen, Coastal Grill and Patio, and Naples Ristorante and Bar. I book a lot of clients. Those restaurants are always top of the list when you're hanging at downtown Disney. And then you can get blue ribbon corn dogs and Stacy. They have a salt and straw. We all know you love that.
Yes, they do.
Black Tap's a great option there too.
Black Tap
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah,
Yes.
Black Tap is a chain. I didn't eat at the one in downtown Disney. I've eaten at the one in New York. Love Black Tap. Love that it's a newer addition over there at downtown Disney. The milkshakes are out of this world. They are so incredible. Whole slice of cake on top, like they're the best. So, downtown Disney resorts, parks, Lightning Lane multipass, dining. This is a Lightning Lane episode about what you kind of need to know about Disneyland. We are going to dive deeper into Disneyland in future episodes, really break down maybe some of the resort opportunities and especially the parks. But we are going to do a quicker in-depth look at these parks and what you can experience while you're there. First, we're going to take a quick break. You can stop what you're doing. First, you want to like and subscribe to this podcast. If you haven't already done that, what are you doing? That is the quickest, most free option and opportunity way for you to help support the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Just like, subscribe, turn on your automatic downloads, and of course, leave us a 5-star rating and review. It means so much to us. It allows us to continue doing what we're doing. And even further, you want to take it one step further. It's not going to cost you anything. Share this episode with somebody else that loves Disney. Share it with somebody you want to hop on a plane with, fly out to California, go to Disneyland. Send this to them right now as like a little hint. Hey, we need to plan our trip to Disneyland. Because then you're going to share this podcast, drop a little happiness into their feed today. And it means a lot to us, helps you. Maybe you're going to get to go to Disneyland if you do that. And of course, this next break, we're going to do our Friend Like Me, listen to some of these other Smart Moms travel agents and the different niches and things that they love to talk about and plan in their social media. Give them a follow, and we'll be right back. Okay, Smarties, who doesn't love being let in on an unknown secret? You want to join our friends on Facebook at Maximizing Your Experience at Disney and Universal. They are sharing all kinds of tips, tricks, and best kept secrets about your experience at both Disney and Universal. Things that are going to level up your vacation in ways you didn't even think possible. You can maximize your time and learn to get the best for your money. That's Maximizing Your Experience at Disney and Universal on Facebook. It's perfect for the families planning both. One of the best things to do while you are at Disney World is celebrate. If you are celebrating something when you go to Disney World, whether it's an anniversary, a birthday, or just a first trip, you want to join our friends Moms Planning Celebrations at Disney on Facebook. They are offering up budget-friendly celebration ideas, creative tips to make your Disney celebration special without overspending, honest tips, tried and true solutions, all the things you need from the moms that have done it all, and unique ways to celebrate at Disney resorts, dining spots, and more. They have seasonal celebration tips and everything you need to level up the celebration on your trip. That is Moms Planning Celebrations at Disney on Facebook. All right. I hope that you took that time to like, subscribe, share, follow, write a review. Recently, Disney Lover Tab wrote, New Year's brings on so many new things and favorite podcasts while deep cleaning are a priority. Thanks for being entertaining, enthusiastic hosts while bringing informative content to those joining in. Can't wait to listen to all upcoming episodes, and a huge thank you for the laughs and vulnerability. Thank you, Disney Lover Tab. Love that you discovered us over the break. We loved taking a break. It was awesome and restful. And I hope that there were lots of new Smarties tuning in and discovering us that are now with us for the entire new year. Thanks for leaving that review. Okay, two parks we've already said, Disneyland and California Adventure Park. Disneyland is the OG. This is the OG Walt Vision. This is when you walk in, you are immersed in like the town square, and then you have Baby Castle. You round the corner, and there she is, the same height as all of the rest of the buildings down Main Street. Walt's apartment is there on Main Street. Stacy's been inside Walt's apartment. It's not easy to do.
No, I have the best friends who made that available to me. We won't talk about how I almost missed it, but it was great. I loved it. I cried.
You know what I love about Main Street at Disneyland? The minute you walk into the park, there's likely two, three, maybe four characters just walking around. There's no line cues for these characters. It's kind of like a first come, first pick type deal. Hey, Goofy, can you take a picture? And that's all you do. You just ask them and then you snap a quick picture and you go to the next character. That's wild to me.
It is. We had a good visit with Cruella there. I saw Pluto and Cruella real early in our entrance there, but Cruella was so fun. It did give a whole new vibe right away that this is going to be a day full of surprises.
Yeah, character interactions are definitely like stand out Disneyland difference. Like that is so spectacular there. Disneyland Park is Main Street, and then you have the classics. You have Tomorrowland, you have Fantasyland, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is in Disneyland, Frontierland, Adventureland. You have Bayou Country, which is kind of like a new area over there at Disneyland. And then you have New Orleans Town Square.
And
And I'm getting there. And the Shining Star best land in all of Disney. You have Toontown, Mickey and Minnie's street where they live, and the town where they live, and all their Fab Fives houses, and oh my gosh, just the experience and opportunity to go to Toontown is worth the venture to California. Who doesn't want to go to Mickey's house?
It is the sweetest, and it's exactly why I have to get my grandbabies out there.
Yeah, it is. And it's why I'm just desperate to take my kids this summer because my oldest has been, she doesn't remember. My two little ones have not. We got to go see Mickey's house while they're little. So those are the lands. You'll recognize a lot of those names. It's just iconic, original to Disney. And then, of course, things like the Bayou Country, Toontown, Galaxy's Edge. Those are add-ons that have been added to Disneyland over the last 70 years, more recently, really. And the cool thing about Disneyland is, yes, we've talked about how it's the OG. This is where Walt walked. This is his true vision. This is where he lived part of the time. It's what makes it so special. But also, you have a lot of OG attractions here, things that you can ride in Florida and internationally, that the blueprints have been taken to other parks, but here is where they were grown and lived, right? Space Mountain, Pirates of the Caribbean, Jungle Cruise, obviously Small World. It's the exact one that was in the World's Fair. You know, these are original iconic pieces.
I feel like when they took the blueprints from the West Coast over to the East Coast, it was kind of like the telephone game where it got all smaller bits of information because the attractions at Walt Disney World are inevitably just not as great as the OG attractions at Disneyland and at DCA. But it's like the grandeur and like the amount of imagineering. I mean, you really can tell that you are that close to Hollywood where they're making movies because we don't have Indiana Jones at Disney World. We have the stunt show, right? We don't have the ride. And being in this ride, I was just in absolute awe.
Yet.
Even when it does come to Disney World, I can probably like 100% confidently say it's not going to be as great because when you're in this ride, I don't even know how you're in this like massive movie set almost. I mean, you feel everything is just so big around you and the storytelling that they are able to do there just is amazing to me.
Yeah.
All these original first things took up so much big space and they were so majestic, and like Small World and Pirates of the Caribbean, they were just so big. And then it's like they had to start cramming in all the other stuff around it. They started
You know
running
what's
low on space.
crazy about that when you say that because these rides do take up such massive amounts of space, but you don't feel that. Like the walk from Indiana Jones to Jungle Cruise to Pirates of the Caribbean is probably like all
Boom, boom,
boom, boom,
boom.
boom. And because
Yeah.
I don't know where
Yeah.
they're hiding the rides at, but even, Pirates of the Caribbean over there, I want to say is like double the amount of time that it is at Disney World.
Yeah.
And it's like for somebody that loves Pirates of the Caribbean at Disney World to experience at Disneyland, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so
Oh,
my
it was
jam.
amazing. Yes, it was so good. But gosh, that queue just made it obvious that like this is underground here. Like this is crazy how much of it is just tucked away underground here, but massive, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
cool.
that's so the lands that you can experience and the things in which you can do, the big shining moment, of course, is these original iconic attractions. And then if you walk across the quick corridor, which it is, as we said, like a 5 to 10 minute just straight shot right across, you're going to have California Adventure. And that is also broken into these incredibly immersive, unique, and you can only experience here lands. You walk in, it's Buena Vista Street. It's like old Hollywood. You have Hollywood Land straight to your left. So that's like old Hollywood. That's the way to put it. Really fun, big band music and looks like old movie sets and billboards and things like that. To your right, you have Grizzly Peak. It's kind of like not the most exciting area, in my opinion. It's kind of like a passerby. But then you have Pixar Pier. Holy moly.
Love it.
Like, who doesn't, again, want this dedicated Pixar area where you're meeting Pixar characters and riding Pixar attractions like the emotional whirlwind Inside Out swings? You've got the Incredicoaster.
So fun.
Hello.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so good. San Francisco Square, really cool. And then what I feel are the two best areas, Avengers Campus. Hello, so unique. Absolutely amazing. You've got web slingers, so much fun. Avengers are huge, right? Who doesn't love Avengers? Everybody loves Avengers. And here you get to see them in action. You get to meet them. You get to ride things, go to the Pim Test Kitchen and eat like really cool things. And then what I personally consider the shining star area is Radiator Springs Cars Land. I mean, you are in the movie. When you are in Cars Land, you are literally inside this movie. And they have even done such a good job building up the vantage point things, like the things you're seeing from your eye line, that you see nothing else. You just see Radiator Springs.
I am a little bit ashamed of how I have been, and I still am very pro Disney World, obviously. And yet I felt almost like a traitor by how much I
Me
love all
too.
of these things at
Me too.
Disneyland.
Part of it is these three lands that you just mentioned, Allie. The
Yes.
Avengers Campus, Cars Land, Out of This World,
Oh,
both of those, but then Pixar Pier.
yeah,
Yeah,
all of it.
exactly.
It
Exactly.
just made me feel like, oh my gosh, do I like this better? I don't know. It's such an interesting thing. And it is a little bit of the grass is always greener on the other side type of thing. But the beauty and just seeing that Cars Land area, you would not think that you could I feel like the immersion of Galaxy's Edge has a similar thing, but Galaxy's Edge, it feels a little daunting, right? Like you walk in and you're like, "Oh, this is so cool," but oh, the stormtroopers and and you have this thing. Whereas you walk into Cars Land and you're like, "I'm on a vacation where all of these fantastical things are happening all around me." I've never experienced anything like it anywhere else, even Disney World.
Yeah, I agree with you. 100% agree with you. See, like beyond the immersive lands, the attraction opportunity in California Adventure, it's all leveled up in my opinion. That is such a fun park for big kids, little kids, adults, thrill seekers,
I
not
think
thrill. I
that's my
mean,
favorite part of if we're comparing all, both Disneyland and then the four parks at Disney World, that California Adventure is where the action is at.
yeah, this is also the park that hosts the Food and Wine Festival for Disneyland. That's something we so love about Epcot at Disney World, and California Adventure offers that opportunity for its West Coast festival. It's just such a great, God, what a great place to be. You know what I mean? And I could literally hang out in Radiator Springs all day. I'm telling you what. Like at night when it's all lit up, you go to the Cozy Cone. I mean,
And I feel the same about Pixar Pier.
yeah, truly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. Disneyland, so much fun. I am dying to go back. I am going to go back soon. I'm going to cover it on our stories. I swear I am when I get there. It's in the works for this summer. But I would just encourage all Smarties and Disney lovers, if you are considering it even a little bit, if you've been to Disney World multiple times, take the plunge, consider Disneyland because nostalgia, fun, immersion, good food, good shows, good attractions, phenomenal parks, all the walkability, opportunity to see and experience the magic of Disney, but at a slower, more relaxed pace. It's all there, and it's impossible not to have the best time ever. And if you have little ones, you got to get them to Toontown.
And honestly, if you have a shorter amount of time for your vacation, you can do so much in just a few days. Whereas you can stay for a 7-day vacation at Disney World and not see it all. You can take a 3-day vacation at Disneyland and have more than you could have ever imagined.
This story I just remembered from when I took my daughter the very first time. You guys were mentioning the character interactions. We went and I've talked about how my kids do the over the top dressing, and she was Jasmine. She was just like a little baby. She was one. She had the cutest little Jasmine outfit, and my wife made her this huge Jasmine bow. It was like crazy. She was really into like the character bows where you made a figure out of ribbon. She had this Jasmine bow, and she was so cute. And we were walking towards Baby Castle, and there on the left was Aladdin of all characters, and he was just standing there doing meet and greets. He like talked to my little 18-month-old baby, and I think she said, "Where's a boo?" But like, in like baby talk, she could like barely form the words. And oh my gosh, it was so cute. It's definitely a core memory. It's probably one of her earliest character interactions. You can meet Aladdin at Disney World, like at dining and stuff, but he was just like out, and there are these rare characters just out. And what a cool, unique thing that you want when you go to Disney. And for any smart moms, travel agents listening today, our hidden Mickey will be Aladdin. 2Ds in Aladdin. He has 2Ds. Anyway, I want to do a Lightning Lane, Disneyland edition. And I want no editing involved here. Okay.
A Disneyland version of Lightning Lane, not a Walt Disney World version of Lightning Lane. Casey.
No, yeah, exactly.
Oh, Lordy mercy.
Yes, exactly.
Look, I even got complimented on socials yesterday for how much better I did. And of course, it was mentioned that I may have just edited it that way, but I think I've done a little bit better. And I am not the only guilty party.
Ooh, burn.
We want no edits here. Let's just go fast. Are you
All
ready?
right, let's go. Yep.
All right, we're going Stacy, then Karla. Stacy first.
No, I am going to be bad at this. Okay,
All right.
go ahead.
All right, here we go. Disneyland edition. What is your must ride at Disneyland Park?
Indiana Jones.
Pirates of the Karla.
It's Stacy first.
Karla.
It's literally Stacy
I have a
first.
cramp.
Okay. Favorite must ride in Disneyland Park?
Indiana Jones.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Stacy, say it.
I don't know what you want me to say.
No, pirates. Say pirates.
Said pirates.
I know, but
Oh my
Karla,
gosh.
Oh,
Karla
Lord.
yelled over top of you. Everybody messes up my games. Okay. Must ride in California Adventure Park.
Guardians. Oh shoot, what's the official word? Name
Mission
for
Break-
it. Guardians Tower of Terror.
No, Mission Breakout. This is terrible.
I'm
Karla.
gonna go Radiator.
Told you.
Radiator Racers, but I really want to say Incredicoaster as well.
Okay, well, that's fine because I was going to take whichever one you didn't
Okay.
say. So I'll say Incredicoaster. I'll say Incredicoaster. Okay, must try snack.
Well, I had to try the churros.
I was gonna say churros as well, but I'm gonna say a corn dog.
Yeah. I'm going to stay with churros because there's different flavors.
I think that's the right answer.
Yeah, I'm just going to
Yeah.
say a different flavor of churro. How about that? Okay, must see show at Disneyland.
It has to be World of Color. I mean, there's nothing like it. Amazing.
And I'll say Fantasmic.
Yeah, World of Color is also my answer, but there is something really great about the body of water that Fantasmic is in. I do miss the amphitheater, but I'm going to say World of Color too. Okay, what is your must-do land or area in either park?
The Cars Land.
Pixar Pier.
Toontown. I'm going to say Toontown.
Oh yeah.
Must-pack item for your park bag.
Stacy, this is supposed to be
Sunscreen.
fast.
Okay, I don't know. And I don't even really wear sunscreen, but I just know that's the one thing that we didn't have that we had to go buy. So
Oh,
I'm gonna say pain relievers and Band-Aids.
I'm going to say rechargeable battery for your phone.
Smart.
Okay, one thing that you know now that you wish you knew about Disneyland sooner.
I really should have looked at these ahead of time.
No, that defeats the
Um,
purpose.
Oh, I know. Well, but now I sound dumb. Okay. I wish I knew how much fun it was going to be, and I had not ever poo-pooed it before in any particular conversations that I might have done.
And I agree to that. I wish I would have known that it was worth it and worth my time and money.
I wish I would have known how easy it was, how
Yeah.
accessible it all was. Before I went for the first time, I just had no idea that it was all right there. And the accessibility and ease is what makes me keep wanting to go back. And finally, one word that captures your memories of Disneyland.
Sappy. I have very sappy memories.
Happy. She's going to say sappy, and I'm saying happy.
And I'm
Oh,
going to
you better
say,
rhyme.
I'm going to say original. That's what I love about Disneyland.
Yeah,
It feels
that's
just
a good one.
authentic and original. And I can't believe we just did this episode because we were already leaning towards booking this Disneyland trip, but like I'm probably going to do it right now when we get off this. I can't wait. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. You have been asking for Disneyland content, and I am here to tell you this is not the end of it. This was a broad scope overview. What does Disneyland look like and what can the experience be for you? But look for more park content, dining content, resort content, anything you may want to know about Disneyland coming here up this year because you asked and we want to deliver and we want to help you get there. So be sure to reach out to your Smart Moms travel agent or check out today's show notes to get started with a podcast team member if you are not already. Until next time, we'll see you real soon. All right, Disneyland. Can you all believe Disneyland is actually celebrating its 70th anniversary? Like, is that wild?
Yes.
Y'all don't, you guys aren't, you don't think that's crazy?
So crazy. It's so wild.
It is something that has been around my whole life. So I guess, I don't know, scratch this. I don't know.
Yeah, just start over, but not with that.
All right. In a very not exciting fact, no.